first thing you're going to want to do before you learn anything at all about learning to play the bagpipes is knowing how to hold the instrument properly and how to place your fingers properly, okay? Once you have that mastered, everything will come so much easier, okay? But get these fundamentals right first before you have to start worrying about anything else. Just take it one step at a time. Now, the chanter is effectively, it's like a woodwind instrument, okay? You blow air through it, the reed is in here, which you can actually hear rattling about, and that vibrates the reed, creates the sound. You place your fingers on the finger holes to create the different note pitches, okay? Yeah, it's quite self-explanatory. It's not like a recorder or any other instrument like that because there is actually a reed in there, okay? So, in terms of placing your fingers, now, I'm going to be showing you how to do this based on playing a standard set of bagpipes, which, in that case, the bag sits under the left arm, the bass drone sits here, and the chanter is based here. I don't know what the situation is for people who have it on the other side, but I'm going to show you how to finger the instrument based on that, okay? So, this is how it works, okay? As you can see, on the front of the instrument there are 7 finger holes, and on the back there is 1 hole there, okay? In terms of placing your fingers, start with your left hand, that occupies the top half of the instrument, and your right hand occupies the bottom half of the instrument. Your thumb, you place that over the hole on the back of the instrument, and the first 3 fingers on your left hand, they occupy the first 3 holes on the stock, okay? With your right hand, your thumb is simply only used as a fulcrum point to pivot your fingers against, and all 4 fingers on your right hand, they're going to cover the bottom 4 holes, okay? Now, so just keep that in mind. Just let me go through that again. Thumb on the back, first 3 fingers on the top, right hand, all 4 fingers covering all 4 holes, right? Now, the most important thing to realize about placing your fingers on the instrument is exactly which part of the finger to press against the holes, okay? With many instruments, you actually place your fingertips on the holes, okay? Don't do that with the bagpipes. What you want to do is you want to actually use the fatty part of your finger here, the pad, and place that on the holes, okay? The reason for that, well, there are several reasons actually. Let me go through them, okay? First and foremost, when you're holding the instrument, you want to actually have your hands at right angles to the instrument, okay? Your fingers straight across. This makes playing many of the different techniques so much easier. So you're not having to worry about this, you know, you're just simply lifting your fingers up and down. The fact that you're only touching the finger holes with that particular part of your hand means that you only have to lift your fingers a very small amount, which when it comes to playing very fast tunes or very complicated tunes, you don't have to really think deeply about, you know, accuracy of placing your fingers. So this isn't like playing the guitar, for example, where the placement of your finger on the string or in proximity to the fret makes a difference, okay? But the biggest thing is the fact that because there's so much more flesh here on your finger, you're going to get a much tighter sound, a much tighter grip, sorry, on the finger hole, okay? Which is going to make for a much better sound. You know, if you find yourself in the position where you're carefully trying to place your fingers like that, and you play the notes, you know, you're going to end up sounding like a snake charmer, but, you know, on a bad day. Place the fatty part of your fingers down, you're going to get a tight seal. You don't have to think about it, okay? It's great. As long as your fingers are in that position, that's it. Now, the other thing that you need to be aware of is, if you can see that my fingers are actually relatively straight, okay? Now, you're going to want to maintain a straightness of the finger when you're actually placing them down in the holes. You don't have to be really rigid, you know, like you're trying to shoot bolts of electricity out your fingertips. Not like that at all. You just want to have them relatively straight so that you can get a relatively flat placement of the fatty part of your finger on the finger hole, okay? And one of the best ways to practice this, even without the instrument, is just simply, if you hold your hand like that, okay, you know, as if you're framing your face up, and you know, just tilt your fingers over till they're relatively straight to your hand. They don't have to be rigid, you know, you want to give them enough room to move. But when they look straight and when they feel straight, but comfortably straight, that's the position you want to have. And it'll come with practice. You know, you may find that, you know, your fingers are sliding about the place. But just keep practicing placing your fingers in that position and you'll be absolutely fine. Okay? And that's a technique that's going to stick with you right up till you play the pipes. One of the things that you'll eventually find when you progress to playing the actual instrument is that when you have the bag under your arm and you're standing straight and you've got the mouthpiece up here, your arms are going to be way down here. And, you know, so here's an exaggerated movement. Your hands are like that, so much easier to finger the notes, but if they're like this and all twisted over the place and down here, you know, it's really, really difficult. So just get your hands working in that position. You'll find it takes the strain off your wrists and your forearms. It'll be so much better. Another thing you want to practice as well is, you know what, when you've got your finger placement right on the instrument, just practice, just move your fingers about, just see what the different notes sound like, get familiar with it, and blow through it, okay? One of the things you'll find with the chanter is the fact that the actual tuning of the instrument will be affected by how much air pressure you're actually blasting through the instrument. I'll illustrate. Okay, don't worry too much about that. You know, you want to get to a point where you're blowing sufficient air through it to make it sound relatively in tune, but fundamentally, you know, each note will be in tune with one another on the chanter itself. It may not be in tune with anything else depending on how much air you're blasting through it, but just play about with that. And one last thing is that I mentioned earlier about the muscular strength around here. Now, with a chanter, if you can see that, you know, that's a relatively small blowhole, okay? There isn't a lot of air pressure going through that, so you don't need to worry too much about having a very, very tight seal. But at the very beginning, you're going to find that these muscles around here fatigue very quickly, okay? Because you've never really used them properly before, okay? Unless you're a seasoned player of another instrument, you know, you may find, okay, that's not that difficult. But certainly with the chanter, you know, you're going to find that comes tiring very quickly. Don't worry about it, it's perfectly natural, like any other muscle in the body, and I mean any other muscle in the body. You know, this is, you're effectively exercising it. The muscle's going to take time to rebuild, it's going to take time to strengthen and fortify itself. So just do little and often. Don't push yourself too hard, because you don't want to wake up the next day and be like, what have I done? It really hurts. Right? Don't worry about it. But you are going to find that you're going to want to develop a strength there, because when it comes to actually playing the pipes, the blowhole is slightly bigger, but there's a far greater quantity of air needed on a regular basis to keep that bag inflated. And you'll find very quickly that you know, if you're not actually blasting enough air into the bag, you know, the sound will disappear, it'll go out of tune. But most importantly, when the muscles around here start to fatigue, okay, you start going, you know, you don't have any control over it, and then you start spitting everywhere, and there's not enough air going into the bagpipe, and it just sounds horrendous, okay? And you end up with a soggy bag as well, because you've got drool coming down your chin. So, you know, keep that in mind. Just take it easy, but it's a good thing to build from day one.